Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Each week, folks, we talked about how noisy and crowded the digital world is. So you need a professional on your side to get your message out correctly and get it to the right people. Oak City Tech is certainly your resource to do that. They can help you with anything you need from website design to social media. Go to oakcitytech.com, tell them what you're looking for, and they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Banning. We bring you a small business success story from Triangle BNI. If you're not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. Each week, about 32 chapters and almost 600 members get together, and our goal is to help each other grow our businesses. And our small business success story this week is Michelle Owens with Grayter Business Solutions. Michelle is in Profits in the Park. They meet Tuesday mornings in Morrisville at Hope Community Church right now, still on Zoom. But Michelle, good to have you. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fine. How was the Bulls game Friday night?
It was wonderful and it did not disappoint, but the fireworks definitely helped ease some of that the loss. They lost by one, but the
Oh,
fireworks actually helped out with
well,
that.
good. And minor league baseball for the value of a dollar is about as good as you get in any sporting event. So I know you're a big fan of that.
Yes.
My third third of four nieces graduated high school this past weekend. Yeah,
Congratulations.
so watching my brother for parents out there, we're all at different stages. My boys are grown and gone. They're 34 and 30. Of course, I have to mention Oliver, my grandson. I have one of those now. But my brother and I are a year and a half apart. We got married much later in life. He didn't meet his wife for a long time because his oldest daughter's only 18 and she graduated high school the other day. And so we started having conversations of who's going to miss who the most, mom, dad, or their daughter.
Aw.
And I know you're a couple years away from that, right?
I've yeah, I'm probably about 4 years away. I don't know how our oldest is going into high school in the fall. I just don't know how that happened so quickly.
Oh, I know. Who's likely to miss one of your kids more, you or Greg?
Oh, me, absolutely. Absolutely. He's already said that he's gonna have tickets ready to go when Hannah we drop her off at college. It's like we're going to Europe. We're gonna be gone for 3 weeks, maybe 3 months.
And
So, yeah,
he
that'll totally be me.
and he's gonna convert her bedroom into a workout room or a man cave, right?
He'll do something.
So when she comes home, she's got a bunk with her little sister. That'll go over well, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Too funny. All right, Greater Business Solutions. You guys help people with sales calls, with cold calling, with virtual assistant duties. You're basically another employee for a company, helping them with things they need to get done so they can go do other things. COVID, good, bad, indifferent to business for you guys?
That's an interesting question. We are a extension I like to explain it as we are an extension of a small business or franchise organization's workforce. So with COVID, I think there are a lot of people who, during the early stages of COVID, they really slimmed down and tried to take everything in house. And as things progressed, they realized that they needed to have more margin in their day to be able to um, accomplish all those tasks that you have to do on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And a lot of things weren't getting done. And so it has definitely been beneficial for companies such as Greater Business Solutions, um, whether it is a solopreneur or a franchise organization. Everyone needs more margin in their day. And Greater Business Solutions is that strategic partner to really help push forward um, the push forward those tasks that people just don't seem to get to. So we have picked up some additional clients during this time or strategic partners that we like to work with, and our different service level packages definitely help fit within those budgets.
We've had this conversation before, and for those of us in the small business world, it's interesting to watch people that own their own business what they think they need to do. Usually, your point is correct. We want to bring everything in house because all we see is, wow, look at the money I'm saving. But two things we do poorly when we make that decision. One is we devalue our own hourly rate. And
Mhm.
secondly, we just may stink at that. And we have conversations all the time, decide what to outsource, what you don't want to do or can't do, outsource it. And that turns into more efficiency. And sometimes that's hard to explain to people.
Sometimes it's hard for people to let go of some of that control.
Mhm.
And when I'm meeting with a new client, I always ask them, what do you enjoy most about what you do? What is your strength? What is your strong suit? And 9 times out of 10, it's really I really enjoy doing X, Y, and Z. I love serving my clients. I love being able to put together the product or service that we sell. Great. But if you make that phone ring by throwing money at marketing and sales and whatnot, if you cannot answer the calls that come in, then you need to hire a company such as Greater Business Solutions to help you with that. Those are the warmest leads you have. People are calling you because they have a need. And if you cannot carve out dedicated time in your day to answer those calls, or if clients of ours are just letting their calls go to voicemail, that is the perfect person that we need to speak with. If your job, Mike, was sales and you have a ton of leads coming in that you are focused on and you can't handle those inbound calls, then that's a missed opportunity. And that has a direct correlation to your bottom line. And Greater helps people make sure that they don't miss those opportunities, whether it's through digital, through virtual reception services, inquiry, follow up, lead. We do not do lead generation at this time. But when you're looking at all of those different avenues that clients come to you as a business owner, make sure you can serve those clients with a smile on your face and that you can have a call to action. Let's get them on your calendar.
And there
So
are,
that's
yeah.
really where we shine.
And there are a lot of people through BNI and just networking in general. And I know there are probably 1,000 personality tests we can take to tell us we're this, that, and the other. But it usually, when it's things we don't want to do, it either comes down to talking to the public or not talking to the public. And usually we're either pretty good at it or we're really bad at it. We know we can see people who are really bad at it real quick.
Yes, it is. And then that results in us getting together for sweet tea.
I know.
Um, and it's interesting you brought that up because my mom always said, um, if you can just get a job where you can use your gift of gab, you will be set. Early on, when I was in high school, there was a small business that they wanted to have 13 interns from the high school work at this computer company. It's called Virginia Data Technologies, and Vincent Finelli was the owner and CEO. And the first time we all met in his finished garage where we were building computers and everything, he had 13 chairs in a circle. And he stood in the middle. He was getting us all pumped up about what we were going to be doing as the interns and whatnot. And the phone kept ringing and nobody did anything. And I got tired of it. And so I got up, went over, answered the phone. Thank you for calling Virginia Data. This is Michelle. How may I help you? Mr. Finelli's in a meeting right now. Let me take a message and we'll get back to you. After that, looked at me because everyone got quiet. And I came back and sat down. And he said, what did you do? I answered the phone. Why did
Dude.
you answer the phone? Because it was ringing and somebody needed something. And so we wanted to make sure that they got heard and they wanted to be heard. We did that. Now let's finish talking about what we're going to be doing. Little did I know that that was going to set me on this path. So I kind of feel like I am where I'm meant to be working at Greater because everyone wants to feel heard
Yes.
if they have a complaint, if they are unhappy, if they have a need.
Yes.
Whatever the case may be, everyone wants to feel heard. and we help our clients by making sure that the people who are calling them feel heard.
And yep, and the other thing to that is small business owners that don't return phone calls, and we see this all the time. And I don't know why. If somebody's willingly calling you, and I get it's, if it's 11:15 in the morning, I get maybe you can't call them back till 1, but God, don't call them
Mhm.
back on Wednesday. Bad move.
Well, and even think about this, Mike, and I don't think we've talked about this much, but think about you are a medical office. You have staff that you've hired to do a wonderful job and they excel at, but you need to make sure that they are answering certain questions correctly. Short of you picking up your own cell phone, which they all know and they know your voice, wouldn't it be helpful to have a secret shopper that you hired to make maybe 5 calls, 4 to 5 calls a month, asking different questions? You're not using the same person, it's not the same voice every time they call. Wouldn't that be helpful and reassuring for you?
Oh, yes, I've been in a couple of businesses before where we had secret shoppers, and usually, if companies know they're secret shoppers, they try to figure out who it is based on what the write-up was, the feedback that the manager gives the employees. So then they're trying to think, "Alright, so this was last Tuesday. It was between 12 and 2. Oh, I think I know there's a guy sitting at the back table by himself," and then they try to guess who it was, and then they start looking for that person coming in. Ooh, there's a secret shopper, and it's usually not that person. But
Absolutely.
but I'm a big fan of that because it catches everybody. You really excuse me, doesn't catch everybody. You really see what your business is like when nobody knows they're walking in.
But you also catch people doing things great.
Yes. Yep.
Wouldn't it be an amazing opportunity, especially in this culture that we find ourselves in right now, where everybody is in this culture kind of catch. Wouldn't it be great to increase your employees' motivation if you said, "Oh my gosh, Mike, we secret shopped you and you did an amazing job. Here's a $25 gift card to Bojangles."
Oh, man, I'd be all over that.
All over it. It's a great way to catch people doing things well. And if there are things that you need to coach to, you know that as well. And you are getting ahead of the game and you are being proactive instead of being reactive because somebody's calling in saying, "You know what, I called in and spoke to Mike and he did a horrible job." Okay, thank you for the feedback. You can be proactive. And so that's one of the services that we offer that we don't talk about a lot, because right now there are so many people who need to have someone answering their phones, doing follow-up calls, you know, lead nurturing, all those different things, that's what we're primarily focused on right now. But one of the things that we do and people don't tap into is the secret shopper option.
We are here with Michelle Owens, Profits in the Park, RD thir 16, 34, I forget.
I
Anyways,
think
Profits in the
16.
Park. They she is also with Greater Business Solutions. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Folks, you better have a website. If you meet someone tonight at a networking event, probably the first thing they're going to do when they get home tonight or tomorrow morning is Google your company name or your name and see if a website pops up to see if you are legitimate. Believe it or not, a lot of people keep their scorecard that way. You don't need a $75,000 website to start off with. You just need something up there that shows people what you do and the solutions you provide. So go to oakcitytech.com, tell Drago and his team we said hi, and I know they'll be able to take care of you. All right, Michelle, back to secret shoppers. I moved
Yes.
back here in 2009 and I ran the AMF Bowling Center in Durham. Love, love, love my bowlers. Best storytellers. These old guys, they're the best BSers around. It's hilarious. And we had a regional manager who would visit. You'd get him maybe once every 2 months. We had an area manager who we'd see all the time, which was fine. But we had the regional guy, the bigger guy. "Oh, so and so's coming in. I heard he's coming in this morning." I'm like, "Okay, what are we freaking out about? If we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and like, oh my God, we better do this. Like, well, why aren't we doing that every day? If our books are supposed to be in the right order for the health inspector, if we're supposed to be dressed right, why aren't we doing that? And it's funny, everybody gets freaked out when the big person, the title comes in. It's
Mhm.
like, well, if you're saying hi and good morning to everybody, why should you change just because they're coming in?
Absolutely. And if you have that nervousness, then that's an opportunity to improve.
Yes. Oh yeah.
That's an
Yeah.
opportunity to improve. So,
And
well, and Mike, I have a question for you.
fire away.
So, what is your best client story in the last week?
I was getting back from vacation. So my best client story is I am running a workshop called Monetize Your Message to help people with their elevator pitch, 5-minute presentation, stuff like that. And one of the ladies is in a medical field, a holistic medical field. The one of the ladies that's in the workshop. And by the end of the first class, which was last Tuesday, her thinking changed about how she was going to explain to people what she does because it's a lifestyle. It's an attitude with more than with what she does, people addressing issues. And so I was very pleased about that. I did not I love those moments you don't in business you don't see coming, preferably the good ones. But I didn't see this coming, but the more and there's a couple other people in the class, and the more we started talking and sharing things and asking questions back to her, she's like, "Oh, hang on a sec. I think I need to change a good bit of what I'm saying and move this way." So I love that part of it. That if that qualifies as customer service, I love that part of it.
Well, and I think that that's a great story. And I think you really hit the nail on the head, especially as we're talking about BNI. There are a lot of people who I have encountered that come to BNI and they cannot master their 30 seconds. And that
Yes.
breaks my heart.
Yes. Oh yeah.
That breaks my heart because there's a missed opportunity there. And when you're listening to different people as they're walking into the room, you can personalize it. And some of the best tips that you gave me as I started with BNI was not to try to sell them in the room, sell to the room's network, the ones that
Mhm.
are not sitting in the room. Sell to them, give them, make it easy for them. And you had mentioned early on in my BNI experience, make sure that you are very specific. Hey, I'm looking for an introduction into
Yes.
Epic Games,
Yep.
or I'm looking for an introduction to US Health Advisors. Don't just say, I can work with everybody, because now everybody you talk to, it becomes are they asking you to introduce you to everybody they talk to? Look for very specifics. And it's interesting as we have new BNIers that are joining, when you ask for a specific introduction, 2 or 3 hands go up and say, "I have a connection
Mhm.
to that,"
Yep.
versus, "I can work with anybody in the insurance industry, in this industry, in whatever industry." It makes it too difficult,
Yes.
and then referrals don't get passed.
And
So, I
th
just wanted to thank you for
oh,
that.
thank you. I appreciate that. That's my biggest pet peeve. And for anybody listening, if you have a business and if you network, here's a couple of tips for you because we've seen this not work. My biggest pet peeve is when somebody goes, "Oh, I can help any small business." Now, technically, that might be correct because Michelle, you and I at Wired to Change and Greater Business Solutions technically could help every business. We could offer them a little bit, a lot of bit, something, but we technically could help. But not everybody wants our services. And I
Mhm.
tell people all the time, if you want left-handed golfers, ask for left-handed golfers. Don't ask for athletes. Ask for left-handed golfers because I can find left-handed golfers because I can drive down the road and see them. And if you want senior citizens, which, hey, I think I'm in that group. I turned 60 a couple weeks ago.
Oh, just say no. Just
Am
say no.
I
No.
I am not waving his hand or pointing at me like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, you're old." So, alls I tell people is I want the box that says, by age, I'm 60, but mentally, I'm still 21 and under, but that's a whole nother story, so but to be very specific and just tell a story. Don't
Mhm.
memorize all the stuff you're supposed to say because then you stumble and you look up and you go, did I cover everything? Oh, wait, there's 7 more things we do. I know I only have 4 more seconds, but let me go over a little bit. No, tell a story about how you helped your last client. So, Michelle, what's your best story in the last week so we can give an example of that?
Mm. The best client story that I have, gosh, I've got a couple. There's a client that we had just brought on, and we had hired for this position, and the person that was stepping into that role as the agent quit at 4:40 on a Friday afternoon. And I called my boss, which was awful, man. That was not a good day in Michelle's world. Um, and I called my boss and said, I'm putting on my headset and I'm going to be the agent that runs that account and I'm going to knock it out of the park. And he was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So I called the client and told them, apologized to them and told them. And I literally started, I had maybe a week and a half under my belt, and my father passed away. And very suddenly, it was not expected. And when I called my boss and said, I'm not going to be in this week, the first thing I said was, you have to call this client and tell them that I'm going to be out and I am so, so sorry. And the client was very, very gracious. He called me, he was checking in on me throughout the last few weeks. And he literally called me at the end of last week on Friday and said, are you okay?
Nice.
Are you okay?
Yep.
And I said, I am okay. And I'm going to get back on track next week. And he said, Michelle, it is fine. It is fine. You do what you need to. I'm excited that you're back and we're going to move forward, but take time for you as well. That meant so much to me. And it's not about Grayter knocking it out of the park at that moment. It's about that client realizing that we are a strategic partner and life happens. Unforeseen things happen. And he saw me and saw Grayter as more than just an agent, more than a vendor. I hate that V word. If there
Yeah.
was a way to make that 5, what was it, 5 letters,
6.
6 letters, I wish that could be outlawed. I hate that vendor word. I hate it because a vending machine is something you go, you push in a button,
Mm.
we put some money in, and something drops out, and that's it, and you walk away. It's very transactional.
Yes, I was just gonna say that, yes.
It's
Now
very transactional. That that conversation with that client, I will always be grateful for because that shows that we have nurtured a relationship.
yeah, and it becomes a yeah, because I always ask people, "Are you a transaction or an experience?" Which is your business? And you can do both. You can be both, but you're more one or the other. Like Amazon, while it's experiential because it gives people great joy to hit the button, it's a transaction, right? But you as a local small business owner, you really should try to be an experience. Now, the
Yes.
vending machine becomes an experience when the pack of crackers won't come down, you gotta shake it. Then it's an
Yes.
experience, but if it comes down easily, it's a transaction. But you're right, though, we should want to let our clients know that we give a crap that they called us, that they want to be one of our clients, partners, anything like that. But it's been preached to me over the years. I know you guys talk about it in meetings. It's so much easier and cheaper to keep a client.
Mhm.
The numbers are unreal what the numbers are when you have to go, oh, well, we have to start the process all over again. So, Michelle, we just lost a client. So you're going to have to do 50 cold calls this week. So now
Mm.
we look at Michelle's time, then we put a number on Michelle's time, and then what's the success ratio when alls we had to do was call that other client back?
Well, and it's very frustrating when I hear someone say it's a numbers game. The more people you call, the closer you get to a yes. That's not what I do.
Right.
That's not what I do. And I have clients who, I spoke to some guys the other day and quoted some service for them. And they were, great, great conversation. And at the end of it, because we were laughing and joking and whatnot, and at the end of it, I said, listen, the biggest decision of your day is going to be peach, blackberry, or cherry. And they said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I said, when you sign the contract and we move forward, I'm going to drop off a cobbler of your choice, homemade cobbler made by moi. So peach, blackberry, or cherry. And they were just cracking up laughing, but they told me which one they prefer.
Yeah.
But
Peach.
it's
Yes.
building,
Doesn't
yes, they
everybody
said
pick peach?
peach.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Tell me they don't pick blackberry.
Oh, blackberry is amazing.
I didn't know that, but people don't choose that more than peach
Most people only know about peach,
because
but
it's better.
blackberry, no. I'll bring you
Oh,
3 and we can sample Friday. We'll
uh,
bring some in.
okay. All right. That's
But I
fair.
will but I will tell you right now that it's that nurturing and lead generation. Everyone wants to be relational right now,
Yep.
unless you are selling oil changes,
Mm,
which is very transactional. People change their kids from one school to another because they don't feel like they have a connection
mm.
with that school. Same thing can be said for anyone that you outsource your services to. So I love what we do here, but I also love, love, love being able to network. And you and I are both connectors.
Yep.
We love to connect people and have some sweet tea and cobbler, just saying. Um, but that is something that I have learned. And one of the first things that I tell new members in our group is that you have to make sure you're not selling to people in the room. But also, when we're interviewing potential new members, new candidates that have submitted an application, I always ask them the difference between a lead and a referral
Yes.
and wait and see how they respond to that,
Yeah.
because that's a whole other podcast. That's a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
other conversation.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
it's important to find out find out, what how they work. Are they a vendor? Are they relational?
Yep.
Do they just want to give you a list of 50 people that they know and say, hey, give them a call and tell them I sent you? Or do they know how to do a warm handoff? That's huge with me.
It has to be because for a referral, all three people have to be involved. If I if I'm referring Amnon to you and you have no idea he's going to call you, that's a lead. That's a
Mhm.
goose chase I'm gonna send Amnon on because she may or may not need your services. I've not called Michelle, but she's really nice. She's a good friend, Amnon, so call her. But if I say, Michelle, hey, do you need all your computer stuff done, your website hosted and everything? You're like, oh God, I've been looking for that. And can I have Amnon call you? Yes. Now it's a referral because all three people are involved. If 2 people are
Absolutely.
involved, it's a flat lead, and I tell people all that all the time. They look at me like, "What? Really? No, but they said they wanted to meet, people like Michelle." I'm like, "Well, does Michelle know you're calling?" And, drives me nuts, so,
Well,
anyways, we are here. We're gonna get back that in a second. We're here with Michelle Owens, Greater Business Solutions, also a member of Profits in the Park. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Folks, take your pick. Social media, SEO, content, whatever it is, you need a professional. It is not easy to sit down and put together your social media posting plan. Sounds easy. Oh, I only have to come up with 4 things each week. Trust me, after about the second week, A, it gets a little harder to be creative on your content. And B, you're going to get bored doing it. It's like, I'm tired of doing this because I can't schedule it. I don't know how. So go to professionals like Oak City Tech. They'll take care of you. All right, Michelle, you and Greg have a great story of how you met, I'm sure. And I always ask people, do you both tell the story the same way?
yes, I believe we do. So we met at work and I was engaged to someone else.
I'm hooked now. I'm totally hooked.
I was getting married to someone else, and, we worked for the same boss and everything at Ericsson in Lynchburg, Virginia, and, through conversations that were had and everything, I wasn't happy in that relationship, and the guy that I was, engaged to, we were very immature and brought out the worst in each other. And so I called off my wedding 4 months before we were supposed to get married and started dating Greg. And so I tell everybody I've only dated 2 men in my life. I was engaged to both, not at the same time, and I married the second one. And so now 21 years later, we're still together. And I think through all this COVID stuff, that's
Yeah.
something that should get me a cape or something.
Yep. Now,
Um,
real quick, I want to tell people you can't see what's going on in the studio here, but once every 7 or 8 shows, Amnon reaches for his microphone because somebody says something he wants to comment on. And as soon as you said, I met him when I was engaged with a guy, here comes the microphone. So, Amnon, all
I thought
yours.
it had something to do with a Porsche.
no, a Ferrari.
Sorry, Ferrari. Yeah.
A Ferrari, yes. And so we got laid off from Ericsson, and so Greg got a severance package, and I left right before I was supposed to get my severance package. So I technically didn't get laid off, but I wanted to be gainfully employed, so I went and taught at the high school. And so Greg had this big severance package. And he said, I've always wanted a Ferrari. And I said, listen, get it before we get married, because once we get married, I'm told that everything just stops, like that kind of stuff. So he did. He got a 1984 308 Euro spec Ferrari, and we had it for about 17 years.
And it's gone now.
It is 8 miles away, but who knows? It might be coming back to our
Can
house.
he go visit it?
It might be in my garage here pretty soon. So
As a birthday present to you for him. Honey, look what I got us for your
look what
birthday.
I got you.
Who was I
Yes,
talking to that got stuck in his car?
my brother.
No, 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 it was it Herschel?
Herschel,
Yeah.
yes, Herschel would get stuck in that car.
'Cause Evan, I've not driven a Ferrari before, so I know it's a smaller car, but I don't think about it very often, so I don't realize a football player the size of Herschel might get stuck in a
Yes,
car, and Greg had to start disassembling some things.
yes. So you've watched Magnum PI, like the old school one with Tom Selleck,
Oh, yeah.
Cutie Patootie, who's super tall, mustache. Well, in the TV show, they had to take the car, the driver's seat, off the rails so you couldn't slide it forward and bolt it to the bottom frame of the car. And there's only one episode where he had the target top on because his head would always pop up.
Yep.
So if you're watching that, you'll see about this much of his head up through the top because they're not made for people who are tall. Greg is 5'7" and I'm 5'8". So he fit perfectly in the car. But when you're sitting in that car and you're in the driver's seat, normally when you're driving, your feet can go straight, right, to
Okay.
the pedals. In the Ferrari, they go sideways because of the fender well on the left-hand side. It comes in. So when you're driving a manual transmission car and your feet and legs are kind of cockeyed and the gear shift, there's a grate on it. So you have to be very precise. That's not my gig. So, but yes, he had that car, loved every minute of it. But
Now, that's not a good car to go Friday night parking in, is it?
no,
Yeah. That's birth control car right there, isn't it? That'll stop
that
any
was
thoughts you have. But you
my
look
dad's
good in it, right?
my dad was glad he had that car. Um, so, but it's funny, all these people would drive up next to him, and you could tell like other people who didn't know quite what that car was, they'd start circling you around when you're driving, trying to figure out what it was. And some guy came up to Greg and said, "Oh, nice Maserati." And Greg said, "It is,
Yeah.
isn't it?"
Oh,
and just kind of
man.
let it roll off your back. Because sometimes it's not even worth having that
No,
conversation because you know that that person doesn't know what they're talking about.
no.
But I will tell you that as much fun as that car was, a friend of Greg's had an Aston Martin V8 Vantage. That car was amazing. I
Now,
told Greg when
yeah,
we got out of there, I was like, write that dude a check. That car needs to
yeah.
come home with us.
I know Jeep owners have hand signals to each other when they're driving down the road because Trinity's husband, Scott, Trinity got Scott a Jeep for their wedding. And she said they'll be driving down the road and these Jeep owners have hand signals. They wave. They just, I don't know, what it is, but there's a connection there between all Jeep owners.
Hmm.
Do Ferrari owners have the same thing when y'all are driving down the road, see each other?
Absolutely. But it's been a hot second, so I can't remember exactly what it is. I think they nod at each other.
Or they just do
Like
this, right?
you better be able to do this because you're gonna be shelling out some money. So, but I think when I'm thinking back, I think they turn and they make eye contact and they nod. They
Th-
nod at each
I'm
other.
sure there is at that in that cottage industry. I'm sure there is.
Yes, but never ask them to push the horn, like sound the horn. That is the weakest sounding little horn. It is so embarrassing.
Oh,
It sounds awful.
like your the ring on your youngest daughter's bike is better,
Yeah.
stronger signal than the Maserati horn.
Mm, yeah.
Okay,
Well, not well the Ferrari
or
horn.
the Ferrari horn.
Maserati,
Excuse
I
me.
don't know what,
Yeah.
but it's like it's very
Oh,
weak. It's very weak.
did you drive the car much?
I drove it a couple of times, but it wasn't my favorite thing.
Okay.
But I could drive it.
Oh
Greg
yeah.
liked it when I drove the car around a little bit, but I can't park it because it doesn't have power steering because it's an 84.
Oh.
So when you're trying to back that thing up, I mean, you'll build up some biceps.
Well, I'm assuming the new one he'll buy you will have power steering, right?
I don't want that. I want a Porsche.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
I
Right.
want a Porsche or I want an Audi R8.
To do what with?
Just a roll up somewhere and they say, Michelle, the cobbler mama is here.
And that's a great way to leave Greg and the kids at home. I don't have any room for you. Sorry.
Sorry, the front seat's taken up with cobblers.
All right. So speaking of cobblers, Michelle is the cobbler queen in town. We've talked about that before. But let's expand on your customer service story with the guys on which
Yes,
it was cherry, blackberry, and I mean peach,
peach
blackberry, and
and cherry.
cherry. Yeah, it's peach all the way. Anyways, it's the small things that people don't realize that after a transaction is done, you do not need a reason to call that client other than just to say, "Hey, it's been a few weeks, just wanted to check on." Like back to with the oil change. There's no need to call them unless you want to keep them as a client to say, "Hey, Michelle with, ABC, mechanic checking in. I know you were in 3 weeks ago for an oil change. How's your car running?" And they're like, "Oh, thank you for the call." It's just
But
those little things.
how many times do you get calls like that, Mike? You
None.
don't. So if you want to
None.
differentiate yourself, you
Yep.
do something that other people aren't doing. When I call and check up on clients, it's not because I have a motive.
No.
I don't, it's there. I mean, because it's the same thing as if your boss always calls you when you've messed up. Then you
Oh,
don't ever want to answer that call, do you?
no, it's like the annual review. The only time if you have your
Yes.
review on June 1 and in your review it says, "Remember on December 17th, you did this?" And I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me on December 18th I did that? Let's talk about that. Why am I just hearing about it now?" Oh, yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if your clients only call you when there's something that's wrong,
Yep.
then that's a missed opportunity as well. So there are three words in addition to cobbler mama and, blackberry cherry or peach, which I may have to have Becky Bennett with the design corner put that on a t-shirt.
You should,
What's
amongst other
what's
things.
your what's your flavor?
Yeah.
Um, but three words that describe Michelle Owens, but also that I apply to Greater Business Solutions, is equip, motivate, and encourage. I want to equip our clients as well as our staff, motivate our staff, and encourage them. I want to encourage our clients as well as our staff that's here, our team members here, because if you don't If you don't help with equipping, motivating, and encouraging, then what's the point?
I
What's the
agree.
point?
Yep. And so rarely do we give homework assignments on this show, but I'm going to give everybody a homework assignment that has a business. So two things, one for business owners, one for non-business owners. So if you have a business, go back to, and if you're my age, you'll have a Rolodex. If you're not my age, you have no idea what the word Rolodex means. But go back to your client list from February and find one name you've not talked to since February. Just call them, check in on them. How you doing? Just wanted to call, see if everything was all right. Don't ask them for anything. We're in the middle of COVID. You can ask them anything you want, but it mean with by saying, how are you doing? We're just checking in with everybody. Okay. So
Hmm.
do that. If you don't have a business, call a friend. It's the same thing. It's that, "Oh, wasn't that nice of them to call, check on me?" It takes you 2 minutes. It's more personal than an email, which stinks. You could do a send out card or something like that, which would be a little more personal. But on the business side of it, just call somebody you've not talked to in 4 or 5 months just to check in. "Hey, going through my list here. I know, you were in last in February. We just wanted to check on whatever it is. Just call them. Don't sell them a thing. Just call them to say, hi, how are you doing? And you'll be, again, you as the customer, when you shop at your favorite place or eat at your favorite restaurant, and there's no reason for them to call you other than, hey, we noticed you were in the store, a few weeks ago or a couple months ago. Just want to check and see how everything went and see how you're doing. Just want to call and say hi. Doesn't that mean something to you?
Well, and that speaks volumes and brings me to another client story. I had a previous client who reached out to me because they were stuck on something in their Salesforce system or their CRM system, and they couldn't get an answer from whoever it was that they needed to speak to at corporate. But they always knew that I picked up the phone.
Mhm.
They knew that I was responsive. And so they picked up the phone and they called me, and I was driving. It was a Friday afternoon. I was driving. My family was in the car. And I said, just a minute, everybody, calm down just for a second. Let me have a little quiet. And I picked up that phone and walked them through the steps
Mhm.
that they needed to get that addressed. They weren't an active client of mine, but I still have a good relationship with them. And when they're ready to come back, I'd welcome them back gladly, and our team would welcome them back gladly. So businesses go through different ups and downs, or as our CEO Teresa would say, the S curve
Yeah.
of a business cycle. But at the end of the day, they know that I'm responsive, that I'm always happy to help, and whatever phase of the business that they're in, they know that I'm always happy, as well as our team, always happy to help them with whatever their needs would be. So that speaks volumes to the nurturing of that relationship with that client. So whether they are a current client, past client, future client, all of those ways to help. So that givers gain mantra, that extends beyond that
Yes.
weekly meeting that we're there for. It extends beyond, because if you're looking at your leads that are coming in that you need to work, why wouldn't you just help somebody out? If they said, oh my gosh, Michelle, I can't figure out how to reset my password on XYZ CRM system, and you're able to give them a solution, then now you're showing that you are a subject matter expert, that you are always happy to help.
And
If they
yeah,
reach out to you on a Saturday and you pick up the phone, they remember that.
especially if they're not a client of yours, then let's say 4 or 5 months down the road, they're in need of something. They're going to go, oh, I'm going to call Michelle. She helped me, had no reason to help me. She picked up the phone, so they will remember that. So, Michelle Owens, always good having you on the show. Always good talking cobbler and sweet tea. We'll get to redneck Virginia stories next time
Yes.
because there's at least 7 years of those stories, right?
Oh, I've got 43 years of those stories, baby.
Easily, easily. So, well, good luck with the cobblers on the side for closing deals on customer service, and we'll see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.